Greetings, Taku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all my review of the Sons of Anarchy Season 6 premiere right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. And as always, I'm here to bring you the latest in this week's Sons of Anarchy episode review. But before I jump into this review, I want to apologize for the review being out a couple of days late. I've just been so busy with work lately, but I'll get into a bit more detail at the end of this review with my little channel update. But let's go ahead and let's jump into the review, and this is my review of Season 6, Episode 1, entitled Straw. Now, my general thoughts on this week's episode, on the premiere as a whole, and setting things up for the rest of the season and whatnot. For me, the premiere was a bit of a give and take. On the one hand, it wasn't so grand in scale compared to some of the other premieres. Like last season, for an example, we got so much going on in last season's premiere that could set up pitch for pitch the majority of conflicts and the majority of things we were going to see throughout the season. This one is more of a transitional episode, if you will, where there was a little bit of a time lapse. We're pretty much dealing with about a 2-week time lapse, and we find out about that through hearing about the cases with Tara and with Clay. When they were arrested in last season's finale. So there has been a little bit of a time lapse, but from what I can tell, it seems like the majority of the things that they're building up to, or the things that we can expect to transpire later in the season, they started laying the groundwork for that last season. You all will remember when former Marshal Lee Torek was introduced towards the end of last season. I called it then. I'm like, okay, they're already setting up for next season. So a lot of these things, they've already kind of been setting up. And the only real big thing, huge thing that happened in this week's episode was the school shooting that happens towards the end, which for the most part I didn't even know what the hell that was about until they showed the preview for the rest of the season. I'm like, okay, that's how that was supposed to tie into it. So all in all, I mean, as far as general thoughts go, like I said, this is more of a transitional episode. It felt like just another episode. It didn't feel grand enough in scale like some of the previous premieres, but then again, it didn't have to. And I'm starting to think, especially at this point in time in the series, when you take in consideration that Kurt Sutter has already planned for this to be the second to last season, I think that the premieres from here on out need to be like that, where we just pick up where we left off. Because all of this, it helps with the continuity, it helps with the flow, it gets us right back on track and gets us right back to where we need to be. So all in all, at this point in time, we don't really need big setups. We don't need huge setups anymore. So now let me get into let me see. In all honesty, I don't really have that much to talk about in actuality. Okay, let's see. One of the things I could talk about is pretty much the strain that's been going on between Jax and Tara's relationship. But I mean, in all honesty, that's been going on the last couple of seasons. I am somewhat curious about Tara's decision to try and handle all of this on her own without having Jax involved. But I'm not sure what to make of that. Is this supposed to be a testament to Tara's character? Her showing how tough she is, or her showing her ability to handle these situations on her own? Or is she trying to protect Jax by not having him involved at all? Because you'll remember, Tara's defense is that the whole situation with her, with Otto, with the nurse, what was it? Yeah, the nurse that was killed and all that type of jazz. Remember Tara's stance on that. She's trying to make it, well, I mean, no, actually it was an accident, because she didn't know Otto was going to do that. She didn't know that at all. And hell, I don't even think the club knew about that. I think Otto decided to do that on his own. But the thing is, maybe Tara is taking into consideration that in order for her defense to stand, she has to separate herself as much as she can from the club as possible. Because remember, the whole thing is that, oh, she was she contributed to it. She conspired with Otto. This was to protect the club. This was to kill Rico, all that jazz. So for Tara to keep her defense, maybe she doesn't want Jax involved because she realizes, like, the club can't have anything to do with my defense. That's the only way it's gonna work. Maybe that's what it is. I think that would make the most sense, because what I mentioned earlier, the former, about her just trying to prove something to herself and to everyone else, at this point in time, I don't think that matters. I mean, to me, that's not important. Now, since we're talking about that, though, I think this would be an appropriate time to mention what's going on with Clay. I will admit I'm not surprised about Clay's decision to turn a rat, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be the same situation that it was with Juice. You know, I don't think because Clay isn't really being blackmailed, and he's not really being pressured. Clay understands what he has to gain and what he has to lose with this. He seems to have a much stronger grasp on the risk involved than Juice did. So I think Clay's going to try to, maneuver, going to try to work some way to where he can have his cake and eat it too. And hell, who knows? He might even be planning a setup, just how like what Jax did with working with the ATF in season 3. All in all, I think Clay knows what he's doing. And at this point, all we can really do is wait and see what happens, because Clay, in the position that he is, I mean, Clay is smart, but there's only so much he can do right now, being in prison. You know what I'm saying? And there are so many other outside factors to take in consideration, because as much as Torek wants to make that deal with Clay, as much as what they can do, you got to remember, Jax is still on the outside. We don't know what it is he could be planning. We know that they're trying to set it up to where Clay can get killed on the inside with what's that guy's name? What is it? August, I believe is his name. Pope's number 2. We know that they're trying to set it up to where Clay gets whacked on the inside, but either two of those parties, whether it be in August, whether it could be Jax, they could do something on their own. Hell, Gemma, who knows? She can figure something out. I mean, it's too early to tell how that's going to play out. Too early to tell. That's one of those situations you're just going to have to wait and see what happens, in all honesty. Now, since I mentioned Juice, I want to talk about Juice's little situation. Juice's storyline is actually going to be one of the ones I'm going to be paying more attention to this season, and because of the circumstance around it. Now, here we are with Juice's situation, just like how Chib said in the conversation with Jax. In all honesty, Juice's situation is something that should be brought to the table, but Jax kind of wants to keep it under wraps. And already we from the get-go, this is the first time we get to see Chibs as VP, and we already see him and Jax, disagreeing on something. Chibs is like, no, this needs to go to the table, and we need to handle this. Jax is actually being more lenient, but then again, because of the deal he made with Juice, which everyone else don't know about. I don't even think Gemma knows about that. I don't think Gemma knows about that deal. I can't remember if she knows about the deal with that Jax made with Juice, but we do know she's not gonna mention it. She don't want to talk about it. She mentioned that to Juice when he wanted to, bring it up to her. She was like, don't even worry about it. Out of sight, out of mind type of thing. So, but yeah, clearly, Jax and Chibs, they're not on the same page about Juice's situation. And so, the fact that Jax is giving Juice that leniency, now I'm kind of intrigued to see where Juice is going to run with that. If he's going to make the most of it, work his way back in the club, if his guilt is going to get the best of him, and hell, who knows? But maybe Clay will get out, and that whole thing with him and Juice is going to come to a head, because I would imagine now Juice and Clay, they're done. They're done. And I'm pretty sure whenever Clay does get out, he's going to seek retribution against Juice for that. So I'm gonna be paying a very close attention to Juice's storyline, and I hope it goes somewhere. I hope this thing just doesn't dissolve or get completely overshadowed with everything else going on in the season. Tig, that's another character I'm gonna be paying close attention to this season. I think, in hindsight, I would say just seeing Tig and his little story arc in the premiere, I have garnered a much deeper appreciation for his story last season, because I see where they're going with it. I see the things that, all these different scenarios, all these different ways where it can, switch up and whatnot. So and the more I keep thinking about Tig's story last season, damn, that was really good shit. So I'm interested into seeing where it goes. I will say I'm impressed with how much depth and how much time they actually took with Tig, who, when you go back to the very beginning of the series, could have just been written off as, oh, he's just the muscle, he's just the button, and that's it. No, they actually took the time to do some really interesting stuff with him, and so I'm really looking forward to see where they take his story from here on out. Now let me see. Don't have much to say about Gemma and Nero, except for the fact that I'm glad Nero's sticking around, that he's going to be a season regular again, because I said that last season. And I remember, I think I mentioned it in one of my reviews last season when I found out that Nero was going to be a regular for this season. I was like, yes, because I like Nero, I like Jimmy Smits. I love the actor, I love the character. I'm glad that he's sticking around. I like that him and Gemma, their relationship is still going. Because of course, you'll remember when I was talking about Gemma's bullshit with that relationship last season. So I'm glad that they were at least able to put that shit to the side for the time being and keep it moving. I like progression, people, and I'm glad that it's going somewhere. She's reaching out to his kid, trying to be more involved in the relationship. I like that. That's all good stuff. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that moving forward. Let's not backtrack, people. And let me see. The new character of Coilette. Interested to see where, how much of a role she's going to play this season. The actress, whose name I can't remember right now, because I do this off the cuff, don't write scripts for these reviews. Can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I do like her work. Fan of hers, and I'm glad she's on the show. And I knew before they even introduced Coilette, I was like, this is going to be a recognizable face. This isn't going to be a new actor or actress. This isn't, this isn't going to be. I knew, I was like, it's gonna be a recognizable face. I knew that from the get-go. And then when I saw who it was, I was like, oh shit, yes, this is gonna be awesome. So I'm looking forward to see her more in the series. Bobby's going nomad. Apparently, either he's going nomad or he's going to start up his own charter, but Bobby's getting out, and I got mixed feelings on that. On the one side, I'm glad that because that could mean that Bobby will live, because for a while now I've been fearing that they would kill Bobby off, so maybe him leaving, okay, Bobby will live, cool, great. But then again, that could also mean that we won't be seeing him anymore, or we'll be seeing either we'll be seeing less of him or we won't be seeing him at all. So, yeah, I feel kind of mixed about that. In all honesty, I would like to see Bobby get back into the fold, but at the same time, I don't want to see him get involved in something that could potentially kill him off, because I like Bobby. So, there's that. And so I guess my final thoughts on the episode will pretty much just be, the whole school shooting thing. Because, because the thing with the kid, throughout the whole episode, I didn't know where they were going with it. And it wasn't until he showed up at the school and I heard the school bell ring, I was like, oh, they're going to do like a school shooting or something, before they even pulled out the gun. Because why else would the kid be there when school lets out? We saw the kid walking on the streets to school the entire day, and he doesn't get to school until school lets out. So I knew there was something going on. I knew something had to be up, and then when we saw the gun, I was like, oh yeah. Now, at first, I didn't know what to make of the school shooting. I thought, in all honesty, I thought it was there just for shock value, because there have been a lot of school shootings going on recently, and so to have that in a television show, of course, it's going to immediately. Oh, not only that, the day before 9/11 too, it was going to immediately cause, shock. So that's what I thought it was, until they showed the preview for the rest of the season. And you found out that the gun that the kid used is one that Sam Crow deals. So now it's like, okay, that's how that's going to tie in. And in all honesty, that's actually pretty cool, because, and this is why I say I don't mean the school shooting thing was cool. I mean that the fact that a school shooting took place in this show and it has a tie to Sam Crow, because here's the thing. As common as I guess you could say, as often as some of these school shootings have been happening recently, the idea that you have a show, a series about a gang of bikers who are arms dealers, and the fact that a school shooting has not yet occurred in their universe, it makes it feel less realistic. Because think about it. If there was real world arm dealers nowadays, that would be the type of problem that they would come across. You see what I'm saying? When you're in that type of business, that would actually happen in real life. Like, oh shit, a kid used one of our guns to shoot up a school. That's a real world problem. And so the fact that they incorporated that in the series as something that Sam Crow will have to deal with, I thought brought it grounded again, made it feel like that could actually happen, like Sam Crow could actually exist. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, that would happen. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So that's why I said that plot element was cool. Not, school shootings are never cool, but it does make sense that Sam Crow would have to deal with that one day. And it seems like that's going to be the linchpin in an all-out investigative assault against Sam Crow. I mean, from what we saw from the previews for the rest of the season, it looks like they're going to be locking down them boys. So seeing Jax and the rest of the club have to maneuver through that, it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that ATF ain't going to have shit on these guys. Like, it looks like we're going to be dealing with some high-level motherfuckers right now. So, yeah, this shit's about to come to a head. It's definitely about to come to a head. So, all in all, that's pretty much all my thoughts on the season 6 premiere. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week. And once again, I apologize for this video being late. And so with that being said, now I'm going to take this time to give you all a brief update on what's been going on and what's going to be going on with the channel. Okay, here's the thing. I just survived grind week, what I called grind week. Pretty much the reason why you guys haven't been seeing videos for the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been working around the clock. More specifically, the past 11 days, I was working every day, 2 jobs every day. Whenever I was working one job one day, whenever I was off from the first job, I was working at the second job. So I was working around the clock, and I haven't had time to get videos out. Now, with that being said, going into the fall season, because with Sun's premiere, now we're in the fall season on the OAW YouTube channel. I know Legend of Korra season 2 premieres tomorrow. I know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I want to start reviewing, that's at the end of the month, and then Arrows at the beginning of October. And my plan is to review all 4 of those series. So those will be the 4 weekly videos you'll be seeing on the channel throughout the fall. Sons of Anarchy, Legend of Korra, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Arrow. Those will be the 4 shows I'll be reviewing. But the way it's going to have to work from here on out, because of my work schedule, if I'm able to get the review out the same day, cool. If not, it's going to have to be the next day or maybe 2 days later. Videos are going to be late. Look, I can't help it. But, I mean, I'm stretched thin as it is, working full-time and working on my comic. So, something has to give. And unfortunately, it looks like that's going to have to be YouTube. I'm not saying that I'm quitting. I'm not saying I hope I won't be able to, I'll be missing reviews and shit like that. I don't want to do that. But they will have to be up later. So, if I'm off on the night that an episode premieres, then yeah, that review will be up the same night like I used to do. If not, then you're going to have to wait till the next day or maybe even the day after. Hell, I'm working today. I actually got to get ready in about 3 minutes for work. So, that's just the way it's going to have to be. You guys are just going to have to bear with me. It's real world facts. It's the way it is. So, but I want to thank you all for joining me for this video. I want to thank you all who've been patient enough for me to get it out. And I want to thank you all who will take the time with me, been patient enough, keep up with the channel during the hiatuses throughout the summer and all that jazz. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, signing off. And until next time, peace.